Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, ji ayanu, goedemorgen.
Becher Agele, Ni Hao, Tuna Shumme, Washmale, Ohio, Guzaimes, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifahal, Haleshima Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabiab, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV WORLD and are watching WORLD this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very stunning, the very fantabulous Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, this is a very rainy morning over here in Islamabad, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely great. Thank you for asking. Doing even better because of the rain and then these generous compliments. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
Jazakallah, I think I'm doing perfectly fine as well. And you know, there's just the very sound of rain today early in the morning, I think was very relaxing as well.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
I was thinking, yeah, Allah Mia, once I step outside the house, please make sure that I feel a little cold as well. So what I did was that I actually turned on my AC to the full. There was rain and I was having fun. But I think that, ladies and gentlemen, today is that day where if you were feeling like to go outside and you couldn't just because of the fact that it was very hot and it was summertime as well, I think that the monsoon started. Please make sure that you take your umbrellas, your kids with you, only your kids, okay? And then go out for a drive or probably somewhere to eat like pakoras or whatever you feel like.
Yes, absolutely. Today is the day you're going to have a lot of fun, inshallah, if you do make a plan.
Yep.
But Shahzad, does it happen with you when it does rain and the weather is so beautiful? Do you get sort of like lazy in terms of your plans or like how productive you were going to be? Like in the morning when I woke up and I saw hailstorm and rain outside, I was sort of mesmerized. I literally just wanted to spend the entire day sitting in the sofa with a cup of coffee, and I just declared at my home, I am not cooking or working today.
I think that verbal disclaimer is good enough as well, but with me it's very different. And I'm sorry, but if there's anybody who's listening and who's been in close contact with me, I do not want you to be offended with this as well. But,
where's this going?
But with me, what happens is that whenever it rains, or probably if I'm in the car or at my place, or if I'm out somewhere, I think about the time which I've spent with someone, in that particular weather.
Oh,
and
nice.
it gets a little romantic too as well when you think about all of those things. But then at the same time, you do miss that person as well, and you want to call them up, and you need to be like, hey, it was raining over here, the weather was fantastic, and I miss you. So, a lot of my cousins were not in Pakistan, a lot of other friends as well. So I think I miss people a lot whenever there's rain or whenever there's a weather which we have enjoyed together, and I'm feeling it once again in my life, again over a period of time. This is something which makes me miss people.
Well, that's beautiful. I mean, you do feel nostalgic, and I feel like winter and rain specifically, I mean, it does give off sort of a gloomy vibe, yes.
Yeah.
But Shahzad, do you feel like we enjoy rain because Pakistan has like 4 seasons to offer and everything? But imagine if Pakistan were to have rain, well, 365 days of the year, that would be the normal, right?
Yeah.
If rain was normal, like everyday thing, do you think we would have enjoyed?
I think we would have been depressed, and I can relate to it because, whenever I go to England, most of the time, it's raining over there and it gets depressing after a while. But if the same question was posed to people in Karachi, I think that they will have a very different answer because I've lived in Karachi for 5-6 years. And whenever it used to rain over there, there's no drainage system. The water would actually come into your house, stay there for 2-3 days. The water will actually feel like guests at your place as well. So, I think that if you're going to ask people of Karachi whether they love rain or not, they're going to say that we do love it, but what happens to Karachi next is something which they do not love.
Yeah, no one
But this is something which I want to pick up on today.
Okay.
And this is something which I've been thinking about lately, and I always thought that, one day I'm actually going to speak about it. So I was thinking that, we do so many things in life. We have so many ambitions, we are passionate about a few, and then we opt for a career, and then we chase it. And pretty much we do it to look normal within the society that, he's got a passion, he's got a career, he's got a hobby, and he's just doing it the way his forefathers did, and which they call it normal. Now I have an example to share over here.
Okay.
And I think that normal is actually not a compliment.
Yeah.
And I think that normal, for me, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it is a derogatory remark, and it's because of the fact that for a spider, it is a very normal thing to make a web. But for a fly which get caught into that web, we need to ask that particular fly whether how horrible it was, because it wasn't normal for the fly. So I think if we are to judge somebody, if we are to say it to somebody that you're normal, I don't think that anybody is going to or need to treat it as a compliment, because being normal is something which 80% of the population is. please make sure that you step outside that box. You know, this is something which they used to teach us in universities. Outside the box, socho kuch. You know, so I want
Right.
everybody to do that, and you guys will have a fabulous life, inshallah.
I think I agree with you, Shazad, because of course, when you talk about being normal, it's sort of settling with what you are and what you have without having the further ambitions to improve it or
Yeah.
probably change it or,
Yeah.
you know, or experience something different. So change is the essence of life, and there is always betterment whenever, I mean, you need to sort of, I want to say, take a flip side of the story that you're on right now as well. So yes, no one wants to be normal, and by saying normal, we mean mediocre.
Yeah.
Mediocre in terms of the state of mind. So, well, everybody, really hope that our message is actually bringing out some ambition in you and
Yeah.
you do achieve something today.
And we are going to continue to change perspectives as well, ladies and gentlemen. But
We
since
try.
we have mentioned about being normal and how the society actually revolves around the word normal, what we have done is that we today happen to have a life coach over here in the studio who actually happens to be a motivational speaker. She's a counselor as well. So it is I think it is imperative for us to ask her whether normal is the thing to be, or we're not going to use the word abnormal, but we're going to say, you know, doing something which majority of the people are not doing. So, ladies
Or
and gentlemen,
extraordinary, maybe.
Yes, very quickly, without any further ado, we're very lucky that we've been joined by a leadership motivational trainer, UK certified as well. She's none other than Miss Amber Usmani. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to our
Thank
show.
you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay, I'll let the ladies do the talking today.
All right, so to begin with, just basic convo. How has this pandemic been for you as a professional?
I think it's a little bit exhausting and tiring, depressive as well.
Okay.
But I think we should always look on the brighter and positive sides. For me, I think it's a great time to have some introspection and some, you know, self-exploring, and you are getting time for your own self now.
Yeah.
Right.
You are just, you know, having a pause for yourself and looking, you know, deep inside what actually, who you really are
Yeah.
and what you
Right.
really want in life. So
Yeah.
I think it's a best time.
But Amber, you know, when you say you're a life coach, for a person like me who's not a life coach, I will look up to you because you know the term life coach, and I would expect that if you are my coach, there's nothing wrong in your life, and you have everything like in perfect balance, and that is why you're like the best accomplishment you ever made. You're a life coach. That is what people perceive when you say that. But of course, you're only human. I mean, there are so many things that must be upside down in your life as well. So when that happens, how do you keep up appearances, first of all? And does that affect your work too?
It does actually, because your state of mind really affects your quality of life, you know, your work routines and commitments. It does get affected, but what actually matters is how much conviction you have.
Absolutely.
And conviction for your work, for your people. So I think for me, my work is my driver, my
Yeah.
motivation.
Yeah.
That's good.
So it
That's
keeps
beautiful.
me going. Yes, I have struggles in life. I have a lot of, you know, emotional uphills and, you know, all of the things which...
All the flavors of life.
Yes, all the flavors of life.
Well,
Beautiful.
you know, that's great and it's beautiful as well. But now I'm going to bring you to where we were discussing that how being normal is a little outdated now. And we have been reiterating upon this as well, that for whatever you've learned, you actually have to unlearn it and then relearn it as well. Otherwise, in 2020 and further on, you'll be considered an illiterate because everything's changing on daily basis as well. Now imagine that we weren't smart enough when our parents said that, okay, you know, Putter, you need to get married, you need to have kids, and you know that family pressure all of a sudden and everything, and they just want us to have the life which they have had spent. But then at the same time now times are changing, kids have a very different mindset, people have a very different mindset, and relationships are changing, people are liberating their relationships, some people are happy with it, some are not. So the very dimensions of being normal are changing. Now when we talk about change in the first place is hard to accept.
Yeah.
What do you think people need to do to accept the right change?
I think change is always uncomfortable at the first stage. You just tend to, you know, settle with the change with time, and for some people it takes instantly, it happens instantly, and for some people it takes a period of time, step by step process for some people. But change is always I think it's refreshing, and it brings you new opportunities. So yes, change is good.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
change is
beautiful.
good. But Shiza, okay, let me ask you. You recently got married.
Yeah, not
There-
recently, but
Yeah, but this is normal for people to say that hey, you recently got
Oh, yeah,
married.
normal.
How's everything? Now, what I'm going to ask you is that all of a sudden your life changed drastically and obviously for good.
Yeah.
We're not saying that God forbid there are any problems or anything, and that's not even our concern. But to adopt to that change where you actually have to live with somebody and make sure that that somebody is happy with you, and that responsibility or that sense of responsibility, how did you deal with that?
Okay, first of all, I think I'm going to take Amber's word where she said that conviction is what you really need to get through anything.
Yep.
If you do have something in mind, I mean, a plan or something, just put your all to it. Of course, that is just how you're going to achieve it. And in terms of talking about how I adjusted with this new lifestyle,
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing, and this is for everyone. Like I said, if you're into a new thing, just put your all to it. If you're being true to yourself, if your intentions are true, and if you're pure with whatever you're going to do with it, then it doesn't matter if the other person is happy with you or not, because you literally did your best. And then making them like you or dislike you is not your job. It's theirs, and it's their problem. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
What they think of me or what they make of me, even after I've put everything for them, is their problem, no?
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the peace of mind too, when you just put that in your mind, that I did my best, it's still not working out, let's just, not think
So
about
is he
it.
happy?
I mean, I was literally not talking about my own marriage. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I mean, this should be sort of a key for everyone who is
Yeah.
thinking about, generally people do tend to, contemplate on how things are in their life in terms of, relationship with their friends, probably with their parents, their siblings and everything. So just always remember, if you're doing everything good and it's still not working out, it's not your problem.
And it's wonderfully explained as well. And this is true, ladies and gentlemen. And this is something which needs to be the rule of life. And for me, that's how it has been. That the only thing which I consider for myself is that, okay, there are a few things which I need to do myself.
Yeah,
I need to get up,
exactly.
dress up, be there, and, be available for those people who are important to me. But then there are things which are not in my control. And that is, for example, whether Mars is going to be right next to the Earth, or, or probably, the sun's going to come out today or not. This is something which Allah is going to do naturally, So
Exactly.
I'm not going to stress about all of those things which I do not have any control
Exactly.
over.
And
But
that's
now,
just-
since we're talking about relationships, I think that self-esteem plays a very important role in
Oh,
relationships
yeah.
as well. And recently we have seen that, younger generations who are getting married, their marital relationship is very liberated. And they kind of give each other space, and it's not really, okay, khatun hai, to, only she's going to cook.
Of
So
course.
now husband and wives both are trying to run the household as well, and then the kitchen and then the finances together. And this is where we're moving forward into a newer direction, and I think that it was important.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there's a larger chunk of people who were brought up by parents where the father was very dominant, and they have seen that that the rule of law within the house was actually driven by the father, and that's something which they want to do in their married life as well.
Very strong patriarchy.
Yes. So how
systems,
do we indicate that, okay, these are the habits of lower self-esteem? Can you please help us identify that?
First of all, I would like to explain what actually self-esteem is,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, please, please.
So if I describe self-esteem, in simple words, it's just like the state of being. It's like it's a chain of mini happenings that can take, and that can develop over a period of time.
Right.
And a lot of things trigger your self-esteem. And the thing, like the question you asked, I just say self-esteem is basically how much you appreciate and like yourself.
Oh, yeah.
How much you value yourself. It's a feeling that I am a good person and I deserve to be treated with respect.
When
with
you know
love.
your worth.
Yes, when you know your worth. It's actually your personal value and your personal worth.
Or do
In
you
your-
think, I'm sorry that I'm interjecting over here, do you think that that it might be like that, okay, for example, if this is something or this is the type of behavior I want you to put up for me, then I think that I'm responsible for putting up a good behavior as well. No? Or is it just like expecting that, okay, you know, everybody needs to treat me like a king and that's it, the rest of them can go to hell?
That is narcissism. That is narcissism.
Yeah, this is what I'm asking, you know, because there's a very thin line.
Right,
yes,
right.
yes. But it's not the case actually. Self-esteem is not a tangible thing.
Okay.
It cannot be measured actually.
Obviously.
It's very dynamic and subjective event,
Yeah.
and it varies from person to person.
And it can be destructive too. Lower
Sometimes.
self-esteem can be very destructive.
Yes, it does affect your quality of life. And the people who have low self-esteem, basically they have certain behaviors. For example, they are just not spontaneous in their speaking, their conversations. They just don't like to speak their mind.
Right.
They
Just fine then.
they keep comparing themselves with others, and they avoid risk takings. So these are certain behaviors which if I say the people who have higher self-esteem, you can see in their personality that they have a very calm and relaxed personalities. They are very well nurtured, and they prefer nurturing other people as well.
Exactly.
So
Even if the other person is willing or not.
Amber, I actually want to get deeper into this conversation, especially in the very social fabric of Pakistan, being contextual to this as well. Shahzad, you mentioned that we have a very, I want to say, deeply rooted patriarchy in our society. Yes, we do. I really don't know when we're going to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Really don't know. JK. But here's the thing. A lot of women in Pakistan, I mean, a very huge number, and we're not talking about the ones who are watching us right now, because again, they're the privileged ones. We're talking about the one who are probably right now, just for example, in downtrodden area or a village near Mitti, or even in Rahim Yarkhan or similar people. My question being, women in Pakistan don't know how to love themselves first, because when we're talking about self-esteem, our mother always used to tell us to know your worth, and if you cannot love yourself first, your flaws, your perfections and everything, no one else is going to do it for you, and you cannot look at the world in a better way. First, you have to look at yourself, right? Now, Pakistani women do not have sort of, I want to say, that level of enlightenment into their own souls. How can we get there? And it's just, I know this is becoming a generic question, and it's becoming a long question too, but it's so important.
But it's a very good question, I would say. Actually, yes, it's a fact. The society we live in, a lot of women are struggling to be true to themselves, and I understand that it can be difficult not to suppress your true self, especially as a woman, in terms of your feelings, your expressions. But what we can do is we can just start by taking some responsibility for our own self.
Okay.
Women already have so much responsibility. I mean, come on. We really need to share that responsibility, I think.
In larger context, yes.
Yes.
But first, you need to take responsibility for your own actions and feelings. Just own your thoughts, own your voice, own your opinions. And this is one form of loving your own self.
Yeah. Right.
And self-care is something which is taken as a selfish attitude.
I know, right?
Yes, but I think it's a time for women to just be their self, be authentic to their self. And what I like is be an inspiration for your own self.
Yep.
Right.
When you have an inspiration and when you are inspired by your own self, then you will be able to inspire the people around you.
That is
I think
so
that's a great thing to listen to. But this is easier said than done.
I
And
was literally going to say
yeah,
that.
and it's touch wood, okay. But it's because of the fact that what Shiza actually asked you means that, God forbid, if you do not get an enabling environment, you really cannot be in that mindset where you were brought up in. And I think that this is the core of it. Now, how do you think that, or do you think that self-esteem actually requires an enabling environment? Do you think that self-esteem is from within, and all it requires is motivation and dedication, and that's it? You can actually get to a point where you recognize yourself, where you're in love with yourself, where self-care, zozo, selfies and everything many paddies and, and all of that. And we do not have any issues over that
Yeah,
as
we're
well.
not
And I
judging.
think everybody needs to do that. But that enabling, when that enabling environment is missing, how versely do you think that it can have an impact on anybody, not just women, but men as well?
Yeah, and just, sorry, a very quick addition. Is it a one-man job, developing self-esteem, or does the environment actually play a role?
No, environment does play a role. It actually, kind of contribution from the environment. Though self-esteem is something which comes from within, but yes, environment is important because at times what happens in our adult lives, because what I see self-esteem is actually, it's like a seed. It's like a seed which is planted in your childhood,
Right.
and when we, keep watering it, we keep nurturing it, so it grows. So it happens sometimes that like you may have a good childhood, you may have a good self-esteem, but later in your life some events happens and then they just shatter your self-esteem like anything.
Yeah.
And they keep a dent. So for example, like okay.
Yeah, go
No,
on,
yeah,
go
go
on.
on.
Okay.
This is our sign language.
Okay. So a lot of events, yes, contribute. For example, if you are working in a very harassed environment, so yes, as an adult, your self-esteem will be affected. If you are being deceived by someone, especially the ones you had
Especially the one.
That one.
the one
Deceived by the one.
deceived by the one, like you had placed your trust. So yes, being put down, being taken for granted, ignored, rejected by someone,
Right.
and unfair criticism. So these all things, and even doing something wrong which is not aligned to your values,
Yeah.
it affects your self-esteem.
Yeah, it does. And thank you
Right.
very much for saying that as well. And I think that you've really hit the nail on the head as well. But ladies and gentlemen, this conversation will continue. But at this point of time, since we have, kind of have conversed about the emotional perspective, the emotional sides or the emotional weathers of a human personality, I think that it's about time that we will talk about how society enables you or how the government of the country or the nation actually helps you to be a person who you want to be. And I think that it is stated in our constitution as well. I think people knowing what rights they have and having access to them
Right.
makes them a better person every single day. You know, for
Absolutely.
example, you go to Norway, you go to other places as well, and over there, everybody knows about their rights. Everybody has access to free medication, treatments, not just treatments, schooling and whatnot. So imagine that if half of the problems are solved, I think that the only ones left are from within. So I think that this is
Exactly.
something which we need to talk about. Where in Pakistan, not a lot of people actually have read the constitution by themselves as well, but we really want to tell people
Yeah.
the kind of rights you have or you possess, and the country gives you the right to do all of those things.
Or better yet, let's make it about like women specifically,
Okay.
because in this segment we were talking about how to develop self-esteem. So let's talk about how to let them know what their rights are and how to go about them as well.
Exactly.
Right now we're heading to a very short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about exactly what we said. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much for being so well spoken with us, especially early
And
in the
she's going
morning
to
as
still
well.
be here as well. We're
Yeah,
still
she's
going
going
to
to keep
ask her
adding as
questions.
well. So stay tuned to find out what more there is to World this morning.
Let's do it.
The Badshai Mosque, or the Royal Mosque in Lahore, commissioned by the sixth Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb in 1671 and completed in 1673, is the second largest mosque in Pakistan and South Asia and the fifth largest mosque in the world. Epitomizing the beauty, passion and grandeur of the Mughal era. It is Lahore's most famous landmark and a major tourist attraction.
Welcome back to Well this morning on a very beautiful rainy morning over here in Islamabad with Shahzad Khan and Shaza Hashmi. Where today Shahzad and I are actually learning a lot about how to maintain and how to elevate our self-esteem as well. So let's further that.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, as before going towards the break, we actually shared it with you as well that we are going to speak about our constitutional rights, and this is something which I think is very important, and the media needs to play its role to let people know or make them aware of the fact that, hey, you know, these are your rights.
Exactly.
And you have every right to access or to have access to them as well. So what we've done is that we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by an advocate high court. She's with us from on Skype, and she is none other than Miss Hamna Zain. Hello Hamna, Assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Good morning, Hamna.
Walaikum salam. Good morning. I'm very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us, Hamna. It's wonderful to have you. Please, would you mind letting us know which city are you actually in right now? Because over here in Islamabad, the weather is superb, so I just want you to feel a little jealous for a while.
I'm in Lahore currently. So the weather
wow, that's
here is
wonderful.
all right.
Okay, so
It's not like Islamabad, but it's good.
all right, well, that's great. Even Lahore is like my second home as well. But let's just get started with the conversation. So today we are going to speak about the constitution rights, or the rights the constitution gives us too as well. So, you know, I think that rather than making it women-centric, we really need to speak about everybody, because that right is for everyone out there. So would you mind step by step making us aware of all of those rights which we have and we never knew about them?
जी अच्छा बिल्कुल सबसे पहले तो जैसे जब whenever we talk about women's rights we need to really understand कि औरतों को mainstream society से किस तरह isolate किया गया है माशरे ने इस तरीके से
एक only English channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So
No problem.
really understand.
Please
Right.
go ahead, speak.
Yes. So legal issues and women's rights, we need to understand that since centuries, the environment and it has been created in a way that there's been so much of hostility due to the male-oriented setup in Pakistan, and it is not only just in Pakistan but it is global as well. So I believe that women, if given a chance, they can contribute more positively towards the development of the country economy-wise. So you know, you can say that more than 50% of the population are women, and those women are not working, they are not in mainstream, and there's very minimal contribution towards the economy of Pakistan.
All right.
Now,
Hamna, just one thing though. So sorry, I'm cutting you in between. You know, I know you may not like me asking this question, but this is how I really feel about it. I've been literally told by people not to talk about it or not to think that way. But here's the thing. Yes, constitution is for everyone. There are like a lot of rights that, well, I mean, Pakistani women do have. But why do those rights have male gatekeepers? I mean, do you know what I mean? The rights do not get to women. I mean, they cannot even exercise them because there are male gatekeepers. Or why are there loopholes created by male lawmakers of the country? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think
Yes.
so. Yeah,
So
okay.
like I just
Well, Amber agrees with me, I want to say. Okay, partially. Carry on, Hamna.
So, like I said, that you know, the society in general is very male-oriented and male-dominating. And when we talk about laws and the constitutional rights of women, which actually exist in Pakistan, there are many. So, I would just, if I start talking, it would probably take hours and hours. But I will just quote you a couple of very important laws and articles in the constitution of Pakistan that every person should know about. Okay? So Article 25, which says that all citizens are equal before the law and entitled to equal protection of law, and that there shall be no discrimination on the basis of sex alone. So when the law or the constitution itself does not discriminate you, then why the society? So you're coming back to your question. I think it's about it's the society, the mindset. It's been from centuries. So you know, there are laws, but the implementation itself has been a bit shaky. then if I go on and move on, talk about other constitutional rights for women. So there are under article 32 and 34
We
of
will, we will,
constitution.
we will definitely talk about the other rights mentioned within the Constitution. But right now, I think I'm not going to try to school you, but this is something which comes from within, and it is a thought process which I just went through when Shiza asked you this question. See, we have seen in Pakistan that that a lady doctor has actually been posted to the rank of a lieutenant general, and I
Mashallah.
think that it was great. We have seen that women are actually flying jet aircrafts over here in Pakistan. We have seen that that military have made sure that they're actually going to have an inclusive environment, and they're going to be women in it as well. We have made sure that there are going to be people within the lawmaker system as well, and that there's going to be equal representation. That when or probably when we speak about all of this, I think that it is a personal choice to probably be a gatekeeper for something or not. But then at the same time, okay, if we want to do it this way, why do we have reserved seats for women in National Assembly? Why don't they come out and say it in the open that okay, from today onwards we are actually going to contest in an election rather than being selected or opted on reserved seats. So then let's
I'm
just play it very fairly. Or probably, why do you think that I have to stand for a lady when a lady needs to sit in a bus? Why do I have to open a door for a lady when the lady can do it herself?
But here's the
So let's talk about this.
I'm with you on the voting part, but other than that, that's chivalry, which apparently is dead. But
Well,
yes,
it's
carry on,
not really
Hamna.
chivalry. If you want this equal rights, why cannot we get the equal rights? And
I'm
why,
with you.
why are we labeled as being? I think let's just speak about it in the first place.
Right.
Is what you just said right now is that these are two different things. So one is being, you maintain, you have manners. So mannerism or chivalry, and the other are equality. So I'm not saying that women and men women should be better than men, or men should be better than women. I'm just saying that
Exactly.
they should be equal. So there should be
Thank you.
equality as far as opening the door, standing for a woman. These things actually, if you compare West world and developing countries, these things are happening more in countries like Pakistan, because we respect women, and which is a very good thing. Our country, our religion, and we really respect women.
But
When we
this is
talk
this.
about
Thank you very much for saying that. And this is the only question. If men can respect women, why cannot women respect men?
Okay, Hamna, please hold on to that thought as well. I'm going to take actually Amber's views on this, but I really did not mean to generalize.
And we do not want to
I
be
still-
scapegoats
Yeah,
over
yeah.
here. It is just for the sake of an argument. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Verbal disclaimer.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing, Shazad, and for all the people who might be thinking the way Shazad is right now, I want to clear it. I do not mean to generalize. The only reason I say that, I do realize, and I am with you, I'm totally with you when I say everyone should have equal rights in, running an election and whatnot. But I'm saying that because in my village, when there are elections, a wife who is not allowed to step outside her home, she wants to vote, but she's beaten till she cannot move because she's not allowed to move out of the house and go to vote. That is what I'm talking about right now.
That's
Of
unfair.
course, that is 100%
But that's
unfair.
domestic violence, no?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There are gatekeepers to the rights that women already have. Amber, what do you have to say about this?
Actually, I am an advocate of male as well, because I think I do acknowledge the role of men in my society, because the respect I get as a woman in my society is something which should be appreciated.
Of course.
Like as Shahzad was mentioning, a man leaves a chair for you, and ladies first is our culture's tagline. So yes, I do acknowledge this fact. Apart from those extremes,
And even then they say, how boys are. We
That's a
really
general
like-
term.
but yes, it's a fact. Apart from those extreme cases like domestic violence and harassments, yes, it happens.
Yeah.
But there are good things in my society which I should appreciate.
Of course, of course.
And that's wonderfully said as well. So moving back to Hamna now. So Hamna, for all of those rights, all of those fundamental rights which we have according to the Constitution of Pakistan, how do we make sure that everybody has access to those rights?
Number one, the most important thing that we must all be aware, and we must know the law. So lawyers, and not just lawyers, should be aware of the law, what actual law is. Law is for the general masses, it's for the people. So we should create awareness, number one. And number two, we should, I think this is very important, that we should educate the mindset of our men, men and women. So I wouldn't say specifically for men, but it's the mindset of the society. And as I said, it's been happening since centuries. Now the the laws is there, implementation is not really there, because I'll give you examples, like for example, inheritance rights. When we talk about that, and according to the law and the Sharia, woman has every right of share of her husband and the brother. But why she's so reluctant? She gives up a right of share, she gives up a right of property, because she's being emotionally and socially pressurized, sort of, up, you can say that blackmail as well. Okay, give up your right, because look, I'm your brother, and I should be the custodian of the property. So there is a lot of reluctance. And let me tell you this thing, that there are laws which actually penalize the people who do not give the right to women. So for example, inheritance rights, there is 10 years of imprisonment if, for example, your brother does not give you the property and holds it back, and he keeps it himself. So that's one of the rights. When we talk about, for example, this is happening a lot these days, cyber harassment. So there is a law which exists, and I don't know if a lot of people know about it or not. It's called Prevention of Electronic Crime Act 2016, which has actually rights for women who are being harassed, for both men and women. But because women are reluctant, and there have been a lot of cases that they do commit suicide when there is a lot of blackmailing and leaking of explicit images, threats, unwanted contact or stalking. So Pakistani women, unfortunately, they're so scared to actually come out and tell, the complain, or tell their family, or file a report. So these are one of the reasons. And I think awareness, when you talk about awareness, let me just tell you one thing, that Electronic Crime Act, during this whole quarantine and COVID period, it has increased so much. And there is one of the NGOs which has been working on this, DRF, Digital Right Foundation, and they have actually set up a cyber harassment helpline. And you can dial, and the victims can file for online harassment and violence, through which they are getting counseling, legal advice, and security as well. So there are avenues. And then you can also, if you are being harassed electronically, like through Facebook, through social media,
Yeah,
any kind.
we know that for sure, and thank you very much for raising that point as well. But very quickly, before we run out of time, there's one more thing, and I think that it's not rocket science. And I'm going to say it for all of those ladies who are out there and who are listening to me right now. Please make sure that you actually share it with other people who might not have heard a program of such sort on television, because I think that no channel right now is actually working towards making sure that people know about their rights as well. So what I'm going to say is that just because of the fact that we as men over in Pakistan, go out on daily basis, are in conversation with so many people, or probably are dealing with property issues, or are dealing with other issues at the same time. So imagine that we see so many people and we are exposed to so much information on daily basis that we get that edge over women at times. So I think that it's not rocket science. I use this because of the fact that every lady has the right to go out. We know Hazrat Khatija actually used to have her own businesses.
She was a trader.
That does not mean that she was not in conversation with other men. But there is a decorum of how to actually have that conversation with men who are actually not your brothers or husbands or father. So I think that this is the only thing which is actually pulling us back. Other than that, I think that we're going in the right direction. The direction to me looks very promising. I have a co-host, a wonderful co-host. She's even married now, alhamdulillah, and she makes sure that she's at work and that nothing is actually disturbing her work routine, which I think is a great direction. Today we have an advocate high court, telling us a little about our constitutional rights. Not just that, we have Ambar Usmani over here, who actually happens to be a leadership motivational speaker as well. So things are changing, and I think what we need to do is that we need to put in the effort, which needs to come from us now. I think everything is out there, The constitution is not discriminatory at all for men or women, and I think everybody just needs to know their rights and go in the right direction.
Right, absolutely. So, Hamna, what do you say about this? This has to be a closing note. So, is there any message you want to give out as well? Very quickly.
Quickly.
Okay, so I agree with you, and I think women should not, please, women, all the women out there, do not be scared. You know your rights. Be aware and come out. If there is a problem, go file complaint. Do not be scared. And also for all the families out there and who are raising their daughters, young daughters, they should really educate their kids. So mindset. If we change the mindset, we change the society, we change the country as a whole. So I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Hamna, for taking our time. It was wonderful to be in conversation with you. Stay blessed and make sure that you make people aware of their constitutional rights every single day. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. And thank you very much, Ms. Amber Usmani, for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation with Gigi. And you guys are definitely changing the landscape of Pakistan, or how it was perceived by the international communities in regard to women or in relation to women as well. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time now. We really need to wrap up the show. So before leaving, please make sure, first of all, that you look after yourselves. All those people who are actually fighting with this disease, COVID or any other disease, may you get well soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
On Twitter.
Well This Morning without a G.
On Daily Motion and YouTube.
It's PTV World, actually.
On YouTube. On Daily Motion is Well This Morning. And the fabulous repeat is going to be at
5 past 11 p.m. tonight.
Till the next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning. Take care.